Do you want to make homemade bread but just don't know where to begin? Well then stay tuned because this video is for you. November. Welcome to my ugly kitchen. This is a place intended to encourage the normal people in this world. Those of us who don't have fancy KitchenAids or beautiful bright kitchens. No, we have ugly kitchens. And we can bake too. So, from one normal person to another, I'm going to teach you how to make homemade bread. It is seriously so fun and enjoyable and so tasty, you will not regret it. I am also going to teach you about yeast because we will be using yeast in this bread. I need you to know up front there is nothing to be afraid of when it comes to yeast. Yeast is not as scary as it seems. It is actually quite fun and entertaining to watch. Now remember, if I can do it, so can you. So let's get to it. When it comes to yeast, I just use some of this instant yeast. They also come in packets. I am going to include a little educational bit about yeast in here, so if you want to know more, there we go. So the first thing we're going to need is 2 cups of warm water. Warm, not hot. Now my recipe calls for a ½ cup of sugar, but to get the yeast going, I am going to sprinkle a little bit of sugar into this warm water. This water is pretty warm. If you have straight up hot water, it could kill your yeast, so you want to make sure it's not too hot. Alright guys, next up is 1½ tablespoons of yeast. Okay, I'm going to give it a stir. And now all we have to do is wait. We're going to wait about 5 minutes. You'll see how this goes. So while this yeast is activating, let me tell you what's going on here. First of all, what is yeast? I did some research. Yeast is a single-celled fungus. Can you believe it? Wow, look at that go. Oh my word, look at it go. So yeah, yeast is a fungus. As disgusting as that sounds, it's alive. You know, when you have your yeast and it's in the fridge or whatever, it's in its dormant stage. It becomes activated when it comes into contact with warm water. And I put some sugar in there. And what yeast does is it feeds on the sugar. It eats the sugar and releases carbon dioxide as it eats the sugar. I always like to say, yeast basically is just farting, and that is why your bread rises. That is pretty much what happens. Alright guys, it's been about 5 minutes and this is looking nice. It is activated. Now sometimes yeast can be like too old and is dead. If it doesn't do this, that might be why. I have a 1/4 cup of butter melting in the microwave. Meanwhile, I'm going to do 1½ teaspoons of salt. The rest of the sugar. And now this melted butter. Alright, I'm upgrading to a bigger bowl now. And I'm going to pour this in there. Next up, I need 5 or 6 cups of flour. Kind of depends on how it feels. I'm using bread flour here. But you can use normal flour. Whole wheat flour makes some really nice bread. Oh! Ladies and gentlemen, my ugly kitchen. That's fine. We'll make that work. Things like this happen to me all the time. That's okay. You just keep going, man. Actually, I'm glad that happened because I just hope that encourages you. If problems arise or something doesn't go right, who gives a flippity flute? You just carry on. I feel like that's gonna be thick enough. Just in case though, I'm gonna play smarter, not harder, and fill this with some spare flour in case I need it later. Alright, now for the kneading. And like I said in my cinnamon roll video, if you've seen that, this is where most people will use a machine to do the work for them. But I'm using my hands because this is my ugly kitchen and I don't have nice things. Let's do it. Okay, I had to get my light set up because it is so dark in this kitchen. I'm trying my best not to let it drop on the floor. This already feels a little too moist. I'm gonna dump some of this flour. I am often a hot mess in the kitchen. I am making a huge mess on the floor. So, what is actually going on with bread? What's going on with this dough? Why are we kneading it for like 10-15 minutes? I googled it. What I've learned is wheat flour has two proteins, glutenin and gliadin. When they're combined with water, it creates gluten. When we knead the dough, we are like working on that gluten. We're activating the gluten. Does that sound right? We're working on it and it's becoming more and more stretchy. Now because it's like stretchy and flexible, it contains the yeast emitting carbon dioxide. Because of that, the carbon dioxide cannot escape. When it cannot escape, the only way to go is up and you get that bread rise. It's so cool. I need more flour. Now, I think there's a lot more details that go into that. Feel free to look it up because I did not at this point in my life. On the directions, I wrote down 5 or 6 cups. I did 5. I should have just done the 6 because I pretty much needed that whole extra cup. Now, probably most of you are wondering, how long do you gotta knead this dough? How long do you gotta go? When is it done? When is it ready? For me, I normally just go with feel. And right now it doesn't feel quite ready yet. Usually you can tell, it's just like, yeah. It feels like everything is incorporated and stuff. A lot of the fancy people, I don't know if they're fancy, but they say, do the window pane test. Like, what the heck is the window pane test? And it's like, if you stretch it, there's my window over there. If you stretch it and you can see light through, I definitely cannot. If you can see light through it and it's like translucent, then it's ready to go. So I'm guessing mine is not. Now I'm using bread flour because it has more protein in it, which will interact more with that gluten like we've learned. And I think that's why bread flour is better for bread. I usually don't have bread flour on me. And then I just use whole wheat flour. And in my experience, whole wheat flour actually is ready a lot sooner. Like it barely takes me any time. You can hear that gas escaping when I did that. I think that suits my needs. That feels good. Now I'm just gonna put it into this big bowl. This is my fancy YouTube setup. Now I'm gonna take this damp cloth, drape it over here, and wait 1 hour, or until it doubles in size. Alright, clean up. Alright my dudes, it's been an hour. I'm ready to check on my bread. Let's see how it's doing. Oh! Wozers! I'd say that's quite a bit bigger. Oh! That's really nice. Let's try to break it in half evenly, which we all know I can't do that very well. Now, this time I'm just gonna make like basic loaves. I do like making fancy round loaves and scoring that, but not for this one. It's definitely not even, but I can never get them even anyways. That's a huge difference. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna do this again for like 30 minutes. Alright, I think it's getting closer to an hour because My husband and I went on a walk and we were gone, so I'm preheating the oven to 350 and then we'll see how the bread buns are doing. Meanwhile, I'll see if I can fix this thing. That's not sealed right. That's on the bottom. Not to worry, I got it. See? Ta-da! Alright, I have these guys on the oven while it's preheating because the heat will help it rise. Let's see how they're looking. Oh! That's so beautiful. Alright, it's at 350. "35 minutes. Countdown begins for fresh homemade bread." Oh, okay, this bread looks absolutely perfect. 35 minutes and straight out of the oven. Looks like this. It looks absolutely beautiful. You guys will not believe the smell. It smells so good. Alright guys, I really do hope that you are going to try to make bread now. I want you to experience it. It's just delicious. If you do, please let me know in the comments if you made this bread. It smells so good. If you would like to know some ideas of what to do with this bread after you have baked it, I am planning on making another video about what kind of meals we're going to do with this bread. So be looking for that. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you would like to see more of this kind of content, let me know by liking this video and subscribing. That way I'll know to make more ugly kitchen videos. Thanks again. Bye guys.